Hi, this is Dr. Nancy Zara, and welcome to another session of Selling with Style. This time we're going to talk about the security buyers. And as we get started, I want to thank you for taking time to complete this program. This is one in a series that explains the AlikeAbility system, and for complete listing, please contact me at rapportbuilders.com. Hopefully you have paper handy where you can take some notes because, again, this is going to be full of great information. Our agenda is to focus on the stabilizing buyer, to take a look at their values, their vocal qualities, what they wear, their behaviors, and even some of their typical occupations that attract them. As always, my thoughts are that most salespeople are stuck in only one way of presenting and communicating to their audience. The best salespeople outsell the average 57 to 1 because they have the capacity, the ability to get unstuck. They're like chameleons. And when you put them on the green leaf, they turn green. You put them on the brown rock, they turn brown. And the same is true with the expert super salesperson. They're able to talk the language of their prospect. So my goal is to help you get unstuck, to help you expand your repertoire so that you can talk successfully with all sorts of buying styles. And we do that through the AlikeAbility system. AlikeAbility is a word that I coined, and the definition is it's a skill that raises the perception of being alike your prospect. It's a skill. Yes, you can learn it, and I'm teaching it, and we're going to succeed. It's actually quite easy. And here are the 5 steps. Step number 1 is to know that there are 4 different ways that people communicate and make buying decisions. Step number 2 is to know your style. You tend to sell the way you buy. The 3rd step is to diagnose your prospect style and to do so within as quickly as you can. Most of my clients can succeed at doing this within about a minute. And the 4th step is to duplicate that person's style, to speak their language, because that will make them feel comfortable and at ease. And finally, you need to downplay and discard that part in you that isn't a match. Make sense? So our focus today is on diagnosing the prospect style. We're going to do it through the LENS personality system. And LENS is an acronym, and it stands for the learning style, energizing, networking, and stabilizing style. And of course, today, it's all about stabilizing, about the true blue buyer. So what are their values? First and foremost is stability. This is a person who does not like change. They want to keep things the same. They want to be even-keeled. They want things that are tried and true. This is a person about having a structure and a focus, a process that they can feel comfortable and follow. They're great at planning. It's a big value, and they're good at planning, and they value plans because they like to know where they're going. They want to know where the beginning point is, middle points, end points, and so forth. This is a person who follows the rules. There are rules for every social situation, and they feel most comfortable and they feel that they can perform their best when they stay and follow the guidelines, the rules that have been established for that activity. And finally, this is a person who values traditions. Everything that has been figured out and has been tried out before and is now found to be valuable, well, that's what they want to do. So they uphold traditions, they uphold culture and norms and everything that obviously has helped their ancestors. When they make a buying decision, there are 2 words that kind of characterize what's going through their minds. The first is it should be classic. Classic means that it never goes out of style. It's always in good taste. It's timeless and conservative. This is a person who, again, goes towards and values what's been tried and true. And so they're very conservative. They tend to choose things that have been done before. So let's talk about vocal qualities, because chances are the first way that you meet a stabilizing person could be on the phone, making an appointment, because this is a person who does that sort of thing. So you should be aware that only 7% of communication that we can recall is the actual words that are being used. About 85%, especially if you're not able to see the person's body language, they're on the phone, so all you have is their voice. 85% of what you're actually communicating and understanding, that it's vocal qualities. And by vocal qualities, I'm going to talk about 3 specific things. Turns out that vocal qualities can make a huge disconnect. So if you're not on the same place in terms of vocal qualities, right away the person is not going to be inclined to follow through and make an appointment. So be aware of that. The 3 vocal qualities we're going to look at are speed, volume, and inflection. Now, the stabilizing style, remember, they follow the rules. So as you can tell already, their speed's going to be moderate. It won't be overly slow, but it certainly won't be fast. It's kind of a moderate to slow speed, because they want to make sure that you understand everything they say. The volume is also moderate. It won't be excessively loud, nor is it so soft that you have to strain to hear them. On the other hand, they know how to use their inside voice, perhaps not so much the outside voice. And here's what's very characteristic of stabilizing people is that they have inflection. They use their voice to emphasize or draw out syllables in order to emphasize meaning. So they take the time to let you know that there's something important with what they're communicating, just like I tried to demonstrate just there. So here are some things you're going to notice about them as you're speaking. First of all, they always start conversations with 2 to 3 minutes of pleasantries. Now, pleasantries are just gentle talk about current events, the weather, something very neutral. They would not be asking about your family unless they knew you well. So it's just kind of surface kind of information. So they might be talking about the weather that's happening. That's a very common way to begin a conversation, or perhaps there's a holiday coming up or just passed. Those are the sorts of pleasantries that they might speak about. They talk in full sentences and complete paragraphs. You can actually hear the period at the end of their sentence, and if you listen closely enough, you'll realize that they've completed a full thought and they've spoken in a paragraph. By the way, they write that way too. So complete paragraphs. And here's something that's so characteristic of the stabilizing style. They hate, yes, hate is a strong word, they hate to be interrupted. If you begin to speak while they're still speaking, they stop abruptly. I mean, they stop in mid-syllable because they feel like perhaps they broke the rule. Now, you're the one who broke the rule because you interrupted. However, they're the ones who stop out of good manners, just in case they were at fault. So notice that they will not speak while you're speaking. And if you start to speak prematurely, they absolutely stop mid-sentence. The tone as a result of this person is a very formal tone. Very formal, very prescribed, very much modulated, obviously following the rules. Okay, so now let's take a look at what they wear, how you could identify them through their appearance, because perhaps you're at a networking event and you're scanning the room. Can you spot them? Oh, they're so easy to spy. They're very formally dressed. So they tend to wear suits, they tend to wear suit jackets, not even sports jackets so much. Their colors, as you'll see, are very muted. They go for the white shirt, the white blouse, ivory. They might do a pastel blue or pastel yellow, but honestly, the peach, the pink, the lavender, these are not colors that the men would wear. Possibly the woman would, but they're very restricted in their color choice, very narrow range of what they'll choose. As far as patterns go, like a tie pattern or a pattern in a blouse, this is a person who goes for very small, discreet patterns. In fact, they don't like to show off or to do something that might be against the rules. So they're very careful in selecting things that are kind of, again, conservative. The women love that single strand of pearl necklace. And when they wear earrings, they tend to wear earrings that are called studs, meaning they're close to the ear. There's no movement with that jewelry. It just is right against the earlobe. The men, oh, you can mark my words, they have shined shoes. And if next time you're at a networking group or perhaps you're in a church service, just look down at the men's feet, and those that are glistening and shining back, you know that that is your stabilizing male. In fact, both the men and women take great care of their clothing. Even at the end of a workday or early evening, this person looks like they just came out of the laundromat. They're pressed and neat and clean. Never will you find, stains or spots or tears on their clothing because they take excellent care. Same with the shoes. Although they do wear their shoes, again, they tend to take good care of them so that the shoes never look, quote, worn out. And what kind of shoes do they wear? Well, classic shoes, of course. The women pumps 1 to 2 inch heel at most. And as you can see, the men choose, again, very classic shoes, nothing too fancy or standoutish. And now let's take a look at some of the behaviors. How might you recognize them? Again, if you're scanning a room or if you're interacting with them, what will they be like? Well, first of all, this is the person who comes to events early. And I mean 15 to 30 minutes before the event begins. So if you have an appointment with this individual, for example, at a coffee shop, you must come early. If you don't come 15 minutes early, you are in essence coming late. You see, if you think that the appointment starts on the hour and that means you can walk in at the hour? No, for them the appointment starts at the hour, meaning you need to be ready, prepared, and in your seat before the hour strikes. So they arrive early, and that's a huge characteristic of stabilizing individuals. So if you want to have an edge with a stabilizing buyer, prepare to come early. They have a very formal greeting. They offer their hand. Now, of course, this is the American culture. They offer their hand, look you squarely in the eye. They take your hand. They don't squeeze it. They don't pump it. They give it exactly one shake. They drop your hand. They drop their eyes, and the greeting is over. So it's a very, very formal greeting. Men and women do that. It doesn't matter which gender. Now, another behavior is about their being a planner. They always have a planning object with them, whether it's a schedule or, of course, nowadays our smartphones have our schedule in it. This person has plans. They come with documentation, things in writing, because they never trust their memory. They always refer to their plan. They make and keep commitments. So, of course, not only does that mean coming on time, this is the person who values other people's time, values their own. When they tell you they're going to do something, they absolutely perform. They will practically to their dying breath continue to do what was expected and what they committed to do. Very responsible that way. They, of course, obey the rules. It's a value and it's a behavior. This is the person who comes to a full stop at the stop sign, counts 3. At least this is the rules that I was taught as a young woman, and then they proceed through the intersection. If you're behind them and you're not a stabilizing person, this behavior drives you crazy because, of course, you think a quick stop and keep going, or maybe you just slide on through. Well, not the stabilizing individual. They obey the rules. And I'm not just talking about how they drive in traffic. I'm talking about all the rules throughout any kind of office, social, business activity. This is, of course, a person who manages others. They manage themselves, they manage their other people, they take charge, they take control, and yet they're not a leader. The leader is that energizing style. This is the person who, once given instructions by the leader, will implement and enforce them. And this is a person who's highly responsible. Not only are they making and keeping their commitments, they're doing what's expected. Again, whatever that might be, they are responsible. This is the person who has their paperwork done ahead of time. It's all neat and tidy and ready to go. They are big on budgeting. They operate within a budget. They respect the budget. They would never deviate or go beyond it. If you're a realtor and you are trying to sell them or offer them a house that is outside their price range, they are offended. They may not say that directly to you, but right away they are edgy and squirmy and they're uncomfortable because this is a person who must stay and conform to their budget. Now think about that no matter what product or service you sell, because it's very important to ask them what is their budget and that you want to be respectful of that budget. This is a person who does their duty, and duty means patriotism or whatever else it means in terms of that particular culture or business or family system. This is the person who performs and does what's expected. And of course, they expect you to do the same. So what kind of occupations attract the stabilizing individual? Well, first and foremost, management. You will find them heavily in management positions of all sorts, whether it's in the trades, whether it's in an office setting, they manage. Another thing is they tend to gravitate towards engineering. Engineering is precise and exact, and there's a system to follow. They like to become engineers. And along with that, architects, very similar because it allows them to stay within the lines, follow the rules, all that sort of thing. This is the person who also is attracted to accounting because accounting has exact, precise formulas and rules to follow. It's easy for them to feel comfortable as an accountant. Government work, bureaucrats, following the rules, enforcing the rules. Yes, this is the kind of work that this person enjoys and takes satisfaction. And military work or quasi-police kind of work, etc. Because again, they get to manage people, enforce the rules, follow the rules, feel comfortable within a structure. Banker's another occupation that attracts them because, again, there are very precise rules around the lending money or that sort of thing. So as you know, now that you've got a lot of information, you've got to take that knowledge and make it a skill. And the way you do that is through practice. So I'm going to urge you the next time you are at an event, here's some homework. First, I want you to identify in your life someone who is an example of the stabilizing style. I want you to find both a male and a female example. It could be a family member, a colleague, someone you know fairly well who is this stabilizing individual. As you're going about, whether you're in a store, whether you're at a networking event, whether you're at the office, wherever you might be, notice how people are dressed. Look for the shined shoes. Look for the muted colors. Those are signs. And again, look for the person who looks totally polished, put together. I mean, impetuous, in terms of how they're dressed. And finally, I want you to listen for how they speak. Do they speak in complete sentences? Because this is a person who doesn't just say no or yes. They say, no, I don't want it. Yes, I'll have some, please. Notice the please at the end, because this person will be very mannerly. So that's it for the stabilizing style. Again, I want to thank you for participating. An exciting new piece of information to help you learn how to increase your sales success. To your sales success, this is Dr. Nancy Zare.